Welcome again to this second video lesson on William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. In my last video, I had given you the summary of the play, and now we discuss the architectonics of the play, in which I shall first deal with the plot, then talk about the theme, characters, and then the speech patterns. So let us first talk about the plot of the play. The question first arises is, what is a plot? Dear students, plot is something that establishes the cause and effect relationship. Plot is that which details the causality in a play. Plot is that which arranges the sequence of events so that when you start reading the play, you can connect the events, and by the time you come to the close of it, you can estimate as to what caused what effect. To give you a wonderful example, I quote E.M. Forster, who in his book Aspects of the Novel defines plot in a very interesting way. The example that he gives is this: the king died and the queen died. This is the first sentence that he gives. In the second sentence, he says, the king died and the queen died out of grief. Now, I give you two sentences. Let me repeat the sentences again. The first is, the king died and the queen died. This is story. What happened? What happened because of what? You find in the second sentence. The king died and the queen died out of grief. So, out of grief gives you the reason why the queen died. This is called plot. Now, if you look into the plot of the play that we are studying, you find that it has a very interesting plot structure. This can be described as episodic plot. There are four kinds of plot. You have dramatic, you have episodic, you have parallel plot, and you have flashback plot. Now, I am not going to enter into the details of what characterizes what kind of a plot. My complete focus is on episodic here, because that is what you need to learn and understand. So, episodic plot is one which runs into many episodes, many happenings, many actions that take place, but they are all connected. For example, in this play, you have four plots. One is the main, and rest three are subplots. Now, let me first tell you what is the main plot here. The main plot is Bassanio needs to marry Portia. This is one plot. The other plot is Bassanio goes to Antonio to borrow money so that he can woo Portia and present himself as a wealthy man. For this, Antonio has to borrow money from Shylock, and consequently you have the trial scene now. That is another plot, where you find that Antonio fails to repay the amount because his shipments are lost, and now he is financially ruined now. As a result, Shylock brings him to the court of trial before the Duke, where you find that Portia appears as a lawyer under the name Balthazar, along with Nerissa, who appears as apprentice, and then you find this leads to the ring story. where you find that Portia is successful in saving the life of Antonio. Shylock is punished for his evil-mindedness and for his vindictive nature. And Antonio is eager to pay a big amount as fee to Portia, who with her ready wit, original thinking, has saved the life of Antonio, which was otherwise next to impossible. Now, Portia demands the ring. So you find that all these different plots, they are connected now. So you have the plots in the form of episodes adding to main plot now. So this way, the plot is very interesting and it keeps the reader interested throughout the length of the play in order to know what happens and how the problem, the conflict would be resolved. Students, now we look into the theme of the play. We shall now see what meaning the play contains. What is the message contained in this play? What makes the play universal in its appeal? Here, selfless love is epitomized. Antonio is ready to help others. He is humanitarian in his approach, very humble, very generous, and is eager to give money to those who need without charging any interest. Likewise, when his friend Bassanio comes to borrow money, even though he knows, still he signs the bond. Bassanio stops him, but still Antonio signs the bond because he wants to help Bassanio with money that he requires in order to go to Belmont to participate in the casket lottery. Then, Shylock is one who is very greedy. He loves himself. Self-love is his weakness, his flaw. That is why you find that he is not appreciative of the values, the virtues of his daughter Jessica. And his evil-mindedness makes him repent, cry for his wrongs at the close of the trial scene when a punishment is announced on him. So the play is all about generosity, all about kindness, and it is also about platonic and romantic love. Romantic love, you know. Platonic love, I would like to illustrate. Here you have love between Antonio and Bassanio, which is love of the two good souls. So, the play also highlights the goodness of platonic love. It also throws light on racial prejudices, how dangerous it can be. You find that Antonio is a Christian, Shylock is a Jew, and they are antagonistic because of the different ways of practices. Finally, you find that Bassanio represents what hasty decisions can lead to. So, he is extravagant, he spends money without a second thought, and Antonio likewise follows him when he signs the bond. So, a contemplative thought over the bond could have saved the play from being so painful towards the body of it. So this makes the play interesting in its theme and is one of the most beautiful cause of the appeal of the play. So students, without conflict, there can be no plot, and without plot, there can be no characters. Because what are characters going to act, enact, give the message, play their roles if there is no purpose? So here, the play is based primarily on the conflict that arises between Antonio and Shylock, then Shylock and his daughter Jessica, and later you find when Portia appears in order to defend Antonio, there's some amount of conflict there also. So you'll find that there is direct conflict and there is indirect conflict. Direct conflict when you find that Antonio and Shylock in first act, they are in a kind of a verbal rivalry. They call each other by bad names. The language is slightly foul, and at the same time they recall the ugly phrases that they had used for each other at the exchange, that is the marketplace. So, and attitudinally you also find that both of them, they are of such substance as can make the rightful material for conflict. Shylock you find is impulsive. Bassanio also is impulsive. And Antonio to some extent is indifferent but is melancholic in temperament. So at the very outset he says that he feels unhappy but he doesn't know the reason behind it. So you find that he is temperamentally one who is commonly sad in his interaction with others. But Bassanio is robust. So the conflict arises when Antonio and Shylock, they come face to face. Because Antonio does not approve of Shylock charging needy people exorbitantly as interest whenever he used to lend money. So his interest rate for the capital was very high and Antonio never charged interest. So they had different strategies, or you can say practices, by which they lent money. Then you also find that one is Christian and the other is Jew. And remember students, when Shakespeare wrote this play, climatically, the historical setting was of this nature. So in a way, the play represents the real attitude between these two races during those days. So it's photographic of the age that the play talks about. Then you also have Shylock, who needs more and more of money because habitually he is in the habit of hoarding money, amassing wealth. That is why when Jessica runs away with Lorenzo, when she elopes with Lorenzo, taking away a good lot of jewels,